an aerophile or a plane spotter. Personally, my favorite is AV geek, so that is what I will be calling you today. Any bit of turbulence and you're gonna have war flashbacks. Will you wear wigs? When will you wear wigs? Yeah, so they make these human or arms or goblin arms, and I was like, well, I'll never see you again. And I know you AV geeks came here to learn about airports and talk about airports, and this is where we ended up. We have to switch gears into super speed because I've got a lot to say for today's layover episode. Hey, welcome to the Guess Where I Am podcast. I'm Louise, and these are layovers. Completely, almost unplanned, very random, and most importantly, very short for you all. Yes, I'm calling you out with short attention spans. It's okay. I too love to play a little Subway Surfers while I'm watching TV. It gets to the best of us. So if you're in the podcasting mood and you want to listen to something short just to fill the void, welcome to Layovers and welcome to Guess Where I Am. This is a travel podcast and I'm by myself, which means I really need to hold myself accountable. I will be holding myself accountable this episode. Anyway, there's literally no time to spare, so let's get into today. On this episode, I initially had the idea to talk about an airport, but not just any airport, a really interesting one. Where? In Wellington, New Zealand. So that is where we are going to imagine ourselves today. We are going into Wellington Airport. So let's talk about the geography. New Zealand is two islands, kind of. There's the South Island and the North Island. Those are the major regions. I'm very much simplifying. A while back, I was in Christchurch, which is in the South Island of New Zealand. Not super fun, not super boring, but my expectations coming from Queenstown, like Queenstown was so beautiful and amazing that I was on a high unlike anything else. Then you go to Christchurch and it's like, I don't know, from a tourist perspective and a backpacking perspective, there wasn't much to do. So my expectations were pretty low going into Wellington. Wellington is on the bottom of the northern island of New Zealand, and it has a really unique airport, something that I had not experienced before. It has one of the smallest airport runways for something that's considered an international airport. So let's get into the detail for all you avian fans. What do you call people who are fans of airplanes? I'm gonna look that up. Let's see. Oh my. I would say if you're a fan of, interesting, if you're a fan of airports, you should look into The Rehearsal Season 2. That's incredible. Love Nathan Fielder. Any fans out there? Any fans of Nathan Fielder? Hit that like, subscribe, download, follow, whatever the hell. Anyway, according to Google, aviation enthusiasts can be called AV geeks. So an aerophile or a plane spotter. Personally, my favorite is AV geek, so that is what I will be calling you today. It's an AV geek. Welcome to the podcast. Anyway, we're talking about Wellington Airport. Let's get into it. And then we're going to get into a little bit about Wellington itself, because I feel like there's more to Wellington than its airport, and to exclusively talk about the airport is criminal. Wellington Airport, super cool on the inside. I'm just going to this was like 2 years ago now, so it's been a while. That's a really scary time. It has a really small airport runway. Specifically, it is 1,936 meters, around 5,350 feet long. That doesn't make it the smallest runway in the world, but that's pretty dang small considering the amount of airplanes and types of airplanes that can live there, that can land there. Specifically, the Boeing 747 SP, that stands for special. It's not a Boeing 747, but it's kind of like a Boeing 747. I think it might be a little bit smaller. Specifically, it can hold up to 230 to 330 passengers, which is pretty crazy considering how small of a runway that is. More facts about a Boeing 747 SP, just so that you guys kind of understand that this is kind of crazy. It historically can fly from New York to Tokyo, London to Cape Town. It kind of has like a really global reach to the amount of airports that it can go to. So taking that big of an airport made for long hauls and landing it on such a small runway is pretty crazy. When you think about how the size of planes that can land in this runway, you're like, okay, so you're a talented pilot. It goes a little bit beyond that if you think about the geography of Wellington. AV geeks, I hope you're keeping up. Like I said, Wellington is at the bottom of the northern island of New Zealand. It's the capital city of New Zealand. It's also known as the Windy City. This is because its location on the southern tip of the North Island is facing the narrow Cook Strait, which funnels powerful westerly winds from the Southern Ocean. All right, it's the only major gap between mountains running the length of two main islands. And these winds are funneled through the passage. They become stronger, especially on the northern Wellington side of the strait. I believe that the airport itself is more on the southern side, but that's still pretty crazy to think about. You got big planes, you got a small runway, and some unpredictable winds. I didn't know any of this going into this flight. I actually learned a lot of this information when I was on a Lord of the Rings tour, and I was like at the top of this massive mountain in Wellington. I'll go into that in a little bit. And the tour guide was like, yeah, that's the runway. It's really small, isn't it? And like, as someone who really uses JFK and LaGuardia as their main airports, I was like very familiar with those runway sizes. And then I saw this runway from up above and I was like, dang, that is kind of small. That doesn't make any sense. How did I just fly there from Christchurch? I was very impressed with the pilot, to say the least. Let's compare and contrast so you guys kind of understand. Like I said, my main airports are JFK and LaGuardia. I did some research into JFK just to compare, so let's go over the Wellington Airport one more time. It's around 1,936 meters runway. The smallest runway at JFK is 8,400 feet, 2,560 meters. The largest runway is around 14,000 plus feet. That's around 4,000 plus meters. So it's a pretty interesting situation at the Wellington International Airport. They provide services to Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Gold Coast, and Fiji, but I think they have plans to expand, or at least they want to, because Wellington is where it's at. A lot of this information about the airport I got from airporttechnology.com and a little bit of Wikipedia. So obviously you can either trust my info or do research on your own. The world is your oyster. Free will exists. Do as you want. But I really appreciate you listening this far into the episode. We're going to continue on into Wellington. Deep breaths. Because that's the airport. I flew in from Christchurch. Had a lovely time, unexpectedly, AV nerds. Add the Wellington Airport to your list. What a fun experience. On top of that, I think you should also add the Queenstown Airport as well, because you kind of have to fly through mountains to get to that one. It's very beautiful. But we're not here talking about Queenstown. We're talking about Wellington. How many times do I have to say it? And it's not a type of food. This is a place. I'm not talking about beef Wellington, although I wonder where that originates from. Anywho, going back, Wellington, like I said earlier, is the capital city of New Zealand. It's known for its compact size, its arts, its harbor, and its hills. It is hilly. Immediately when I got there, you can't check into the hostel till 4 p.m., but I was feeling ready because I'm coming from Christchurch. I was a little bit on a low. I landed in Wellington. I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. This is gorgeous. Let me get out there. Let me do something. I decided to do a hike up a mountain, which ended up being one of the filming locations for Lord of the Rings. Pretty cool. Didn't know it at the time. Started raining halfway through. I was like, no. Moving on. When I landed in Wellington, it immediately reminded me of San Francisco. They were known to have a decent amount of earthquakes in the past, so a lot of the buildings and homes are made out of wood. So you have that kind of San Fran vibe. Everything's painted relatively colorfully. And yeah, the hills are intense. Another thing about Wellington, although it is known as like the Windy City, it is also the Hollywood of New Zealand, which I thought was interesting. They had their own Hollywood sign that said Wellington, but in like a Hollywood sign manner, if that makes sense. If you want to see any photos, you guys should check out our Pinterest at GWIA Podcast. There'll be a folder there labeled Wellington with a bunch of these photos, because this is audio only. But should be known as the Hollywood of New Zealand, mainly because they filmed a lot of Lord of the Rings there, and the WETA workshop is there. I hope I'm saying that right. That's WETA, W-E-T-A. They are a special effects and props workshop that basically did all of the special effects and props for Lord of the Rings, and you can take a tour of their workshop, and oh my god, I so recommend it. Mainly, like, you can't take any photos, which is fair, it's so respectable, so you have to go and see it yourself. They are so crazy talented, so crazy detail oriented. Like, they make these human or arms or goblin arms. I'm not like the best Lord of the Rings, like, I don't know that much about it other than the fact that Orlando Bloom is in it. Will you wear wigs? When will you wear wigs? Yeah, so I do like Lord of the Rings. I don't know about it too much, but what I can say is the WETA workshop, whether you're a massive Lord of the Rings fan or just a small fan, like you've seen the movies, you get the hype, you like fantasy, it is so incredibly awesome to go there and see some of these incredible props and be able to touch them. Everything is so lifelike. It's a really cool place to go to. If you're arts enthusiasts and appreciate good craftsmanship, it's beautiful. You just can't take photos, so make sure you really are present and you take everything in, because it's something like I'll still think about, and I don't know if you can hear it through the mic, but I'm very passionate. I was like, hell yeah. Suddenly I'm walking out of Wellington and the WETA workshop and I'm going on all these Lord of the Rings tour, and I'm like, I'm the biggest fan ever. Don't ask me what Orlando Bloom's character's name is. All I know is Frodo Baggins. And that Liv Tyler wore Black Honey by Clinique as her lipstick for her character. And that's on Lord of the Rings. That's in Wellington. And you should go if you enjoy nature. If you like a San Francisco vibe. Lord of the Rings fantasy meets the ocean. Airport's pretty cool. Everyone's very nice. It's a good city vibe. I bet if you're from Wellington and you listen to this, like, are you like how I feel if someone were to boast about Stamford? Like, do you guys even know Stamford? Like, it's not that great. But maybe a tourist is like, this is an awesome city. I don't actually think that you can compare Stamford to Wellington. But I wonder if a local's like, guys, she's hyping it up too much. Like, it's an airport and some pretty trees and hills. Chill out. I hope not. I had fun and I was by myself. And it was when I was really burnt out in New Zealand too. Wellington gave me like a little breath of fresh air that I really needed. And I had some really cool hostel people that I don't talk to anymore, and I can't remember their names, but I just remember my hostel roommate was like super into fantasy books, and he was telling me about all of his favorite fantasy books. I thought that he would be the love of my life, and then he had a girlfriend, and I was like, well, I'll never see you again. What is oversharing in the grand scheme of things? I feel like this is relatable, and I know you AV geeks came here to learn about airports and talk about airports, and this is where we ended up. So that's that. I feel like you can hear my heartbeat because I'm like hot and stressed. So that is, my experience flying into the Wellington airport was pretty normal. The more abnormal one was when I was flying from Tasmania to Melbourne, and the night before I decided to watch Society of Snow, which is this amazing but also equally terrifying movie about a real story of a bunch of people getting in an airplane crash and like going through terrible things. Don't watch a movie about an airplane crash the night before you have to get on an airplane. Any bit of turbulence and you're gonna have war flashbacks. That wasn't this experience. I had a lovely experience flying from Christchurch to Wellington, and I had an even more fun experience in Wellington. I was there for like 3 days, and it left enough of a impact on me that I'm talking about it here at this layover. I don't know, go to Wellington, check it out. And if you go or if you've been, feel free to comment on this podcast because I think you can do that these days. And let me know what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? How wrong am I? No, I'm right because I know that. Thank you for listening to this layover. I'm gonna wrap it up here. If you want to see any photos or videos or crave more travel content, please check out our Instagram and our TikTok at GWIA Podcast, Pinterest at GWIA Podcast. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. Signing out, not in Wellington, wishing I was in Wellington. Bye.